Welcome to the Sales for Nerds podcast. I'm Chief Nerd Ruben Swartz. If you feel more comfortable with SQL and sales calls, more at home writing test suites than proposals, more interested in crunching numbers than shaking hands, if you think networking should be about routers rather than cocktails with strangers, and if you're more interested in debating code editors than negotiating deals, but somehow you ended up responsible for some of those sales and marketing activities, this is the podcast for you. So today I'm excited to have Rohan Kale, who was a gambler in India, moved to Germany 7 years ago, started his own firm, and he helps businesses tell their story and get more sales via online videos. He works with companies worldwide and loves to travel, and he also happens to enjoy German beer. So with that segue, Rohan, what do you have in your glass?
Right now, I am drinking a beer from Munich, a Bayerisch beer. It's called Helles, and it's not a wheat beer. It's like a Pilsner, but it's actually in between Pilsner and the wheat beer. So I love the taste of it. It's pretty cool.
Well, I wish I could be there with you because I'm not much of a beer drinker, but I love German beer. And beer's generally pretty good, but they just, for some reason, whatever they do there, the water, the simplicity, the purity laws, it's just never the same once you leave Munich, if you ask me.
Absolutely. It's nice. But this beer is completely different if you're thinking it's from the beer from Oktoberfest, because that's something completely different. That beer in Oktoberfest, I think it's a little more stronger.
Okay.
I don't know what exactly is that beer. It's kind of a Pils beer as well, but I do not know the exact content of it. I just know it's very strong because I was there once and I was pretty hammered after just one mass. So I can tell you, that for sure.
Well, if you haven't been to Oktoberfest, you may not appreciate that a mug is a liter, right?
Yeah. So it's like 1 liter is one. You call it mass, one mass beer.
Okay.
And
so
then
it's kind of like 3 beers.
Yeah, more or less, like correct. So people all over the world just come there to get hammered, basically. And my experience is it's crazy because when I was there, I was just there once though, because I live in Stuttgart, which is a couple of hours from Munich. And when I was there, I just met, I don't know, me and my friends, we went there around, 6 p.m. That's a good time to enjoy a couple of hours over there and then just have fun. But then it was so crowded, first of all. Somehow, luckily, we got the entrance into the tent, the Zelt as we call it here. And there was a huge Australian group, and they said they were there since 6 o'clock in the morning, and they were a group of like 15 people, and everyone was so hammered. It was just crazy. Just one of the experiences. It was insane. So people were going in their group. They were sleeping. They were coming back. They were drinking. I'm like, oh my God, what are you guys doing? It's just crazy.
Yeah, I've never been for Oktoberfest. I've been to Munich a couple of times and always enjoyed a beer or two, but I can't imagine just doing that all day long, liter after liter.
It's crazy, yeah. It's one of those experiences that you should probably have if you love drinking and if you're young, I would say.
Well, one of those things that might be a little too late for me.
It's never late. You can always go and have one mass and you'll be fine, actually.
Yeah, that's actually a good plan. And in your honor, I've got this Monshoff Riesling that has been in my fridge for a long time because I don't drink a lot of Riesling. I find it a little bit too sweet, but I figured today is the day. So cheers.
Cheers.
Now,
you call it Prost here in Germany.
How do you say it?
Prost.
Okay. Well, there we go.
R-O-S, Prost, yeah.
Now, you weren't originally from Germany. How did you get to Germany?
So this is a very interesting story. So I'm originally from India, and I am originally an engineer. So after my engineering, I was having a typical IT software kind of job. And I was not in a good place. I wasn't happy. I was working there for 1.5 years, more or less, when I realized that I was just unhappy. And I started looking into ways how I can make some quick money. I was, 18, 19-year-old guy having no exposure to the outside world, and I just started looking into quick ways to make some money.
Now, had you
And
gone to
then
college already?
yeah, sure. So I did my schooling, like high school in science field. Then I was an electronics engineer. I finished my engineering, and then I landed up in one of the biggest software companies in Asia actually, and the job was good. It was pretty cool, but uh, I mean, now I myself do not know how the situation is, but when I was there, we were working, I don't know, 14, 15, 16 hours a day, sometimes even on weekends, and it was just not where I wanted to be. I couldn't imagine living that lifestyle. And therefore, I started looking into ways how I can make some quick money. And then one thing led to another, and I was led into the world of gambling, which is not a good thing. What started as fun just deteriorated so badly. I lost all my savings, all my money. I had to loan some money from my parents, and I was just in a very bad place. It was absolute rock bottom that I could ever hit in my life, and I wish it happens to no one really. But then I knew for a fact that I wanted to go abroad and study, have some exposure towards outside world, and do some business studies, because business was something that I kind of for sure I wanted to do at some point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore I started looking into ways, what should I do? And I realized that then I started looking into ways. So I searched some universities in America, in US, in America, in UK, in Germany. But I realized that in Germany, the education is much cheaper as compared to US or the
Right.
UK. Much cheaper actually, especially if you want to do masters or some business related studies. And I couldn't have any more money because I was broke, and I had to then take my last gamble, quote unquote, as I call it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to take some education loan from the bank. And that's how I decided that okay, I have to manage in a way that I do not spend a lot of money but get some good education. And that's how I landed up in Germany. Well, landing up in Germany was fine, but I knew that it's going to be a huge challenge for me because I didn't know any language. Like literally, I had zero German knowledge. So that was the first thing that I had to learn. And on top of that, do my studies. So I did hustle my way over there. I finished my studies with really good grades, and then I was hired by Daimler, the car company, Mercedes-Benz. And that's how I landed up in Stuttgart. This is where I live right now because here they have their headquarters.
How did you learn German as you sort of get off the plane? And it's hard enough to learn German without having to also learn the stuff you're in school to learn.
Yeah. So I just learned it online. I mean, the basics. So before our course started, the main course. Luckily, the course was in English. Just to mention,
okay.
The course was in English. But I knew for a fact that if I have to talk with the outside world or get a job, that everyone would like me to know at least a bit of German. So alongside my education, which was a very short and intensive course, actually, I didn't learn German that time, but then I was kind of struggling to get a job, and I realized that I need to learn German. So spending as less money as possible, I learned German online for 3 months, like very intensively, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, very intensive learning. And then I was in a position to at least have a normal conversation. And now I'm not fluent, but I'm really good, I would say right now. Yeah.
Did you use a specific site or application, or did you just watch a bunch of movies in German? How did you actually learn it?
So there is a pretty cool a course called Pimsleur Online Learning, PIMSLEUR, and this they have let's say structured a course in such a way that you can get over this. Let's say you don't have to have the written knowledge initially, but even if you have the normal conversation kind of knowledge, then you are good to go. So they have structured the course in such a way that So for example, if you repeat one thing, uh, it's it's something based on the psychology, I think. They say that if you repeat one thing 8 or 9 times in a period of 8 to 10 minutes, then that thing, it gets registered in your subconscious mind.
Okay.
And this entire course was based on this principle. And trust me, within 3 months, I could go from, let's say, out of 0 to 10, 10 being the best. I went from zero to at least 6, 6.5, 7, I would say.
Enough to get a
So
job at Daimler.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay,
So
so very cool. So you've moved from India to Germany. You've learned German, taught yourself basically. You've got a job at one of the big German companies. What happens next?
what happens next is, I was working there for 3 years more or less in Daimler. So within first 2.5 years, I was able to pay all my debt, my education loan, my parents, everything was paid off. So I was in a place where I could actually take the next step, not worrying about anything else. So then I started doing some research. Actually, I took one step back and I really thought that, okay, is this the job, or is this the place I want to be in? Or what is it that I really want to do? And then I realized that I want to explore the world. Because being in Germany has given me so many things. I learned the culture. I learned and I met so many new people, and it was just an amazing thing. So I said, this is what I really love, and I want to travel. I want to have the freedom to do what I want whenever I want. So I started looking into ways of how can I, let's say, perceive this personal goal alongside business, or if I can combine it in some way or the other.
Okay.
And that is how I started, or I let's say researched a bit about what is it that I can do. And I landed up in a place who was my first mentor, actually. His name is Timothy Mark, and he has this very concise online course. So he actually tells you from absolutely scratch how to build an online business. So this is something that I learned. So now that I have the online business knowledge, or the real marketing knowledge, how everything works, I kind of search into ways, started searching ways what kind of industry I want to be in. And then I realized that, I don't know, I was just one fine evening, I was just scrolling through YouTube videos, and in this suggested on the right hand side, I saw a cartoon. And this, I don't know if you know this cartoon called Captain Planet.
No.
It was in 90s. I don't know. It was pretty popular in India, and I love that cartoon. So I realized that this thing still fascinates me. So, and I don't know how. Next morning I just connected the dots. And I just said that videos and cartoons is something that I want to do. And then I really started looking into ways. This was 2015, I would say. And then I really started, let's say, doing deep research about if there is a possibility I can do something related to videos. And I came across multiple articles, and I realized that video marketing is booming. It's like a booming market. It's just an upcoming market. It will be the hot stuff till at least 2020, at least. So I said, okay, this is something that I definitely want to do. And then I started researching more, and I did not have any knowledge about, let's say, graphics or animations or whatever. So I taught myself a bit of it. But then I realized that since having the business knowledge, I knew that if I had to scale, then I would need at least a couple of people to work with me. So what I did was I hired someone, and he was my, let's say, quote unquote employee as well as my teacher. So he kind of taught me, and the guy still works with me. So it's a pretty cool relationship that we have. And that's how I kind of started my business. And then one thing led to another. I started, let's say, building my website, not So building my website was the later stage. Actually, first I looked into the market research and then figured out what would be my target potential market would be, how am I going to market them, what will be my pricing and stuff like that. So this is how I got started. One thing led to another, and the business kind of took off. Within 6 months, I was able to, let's say, generate revenue much more than what I was getting in Daimler. And here I am, like 2 years down the line. I have a team of around 15 people working with me. So can't complain. Life's good.
Very good. And you get to travel.
I get to travel. Absolutely. I get to travel when I want, where I want.
So a lot of people hear this and they'll say, okay, that's great. You watched a cartoon. We all love cartoons, but actually turning that into a viable, growing business is a whole other thing. What did you learn from that course that gave you the confidence to go sort of understand that you could take this passion and turn it into a money-making operation?
So the main thing about this course was the guy, the mentor, Timothy Mark, he laid the foundation about each and every aspect. So, for example, if you want to do advertisements, or okay, advertisement is the later stage. If you want to start getting a sale, what is it that you need to do? So, if and imagining or considering you don't have any money, how would you start anything? Few ways. LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best resource even right now, I would say. Provide value via cold email if you can start doing or start getting work at cost. If not possible, just to do it for free to get some testimonial sales, if you will. If you have these kind of testimonials, then you can ask the guys who give you testimonial for some references. With these references, you can slowly but start building up your sales machine, if you will, get some money going. Then you can build up your website. You can ask for more referrals. So if you think about this, one referral can lead you to 2 more referrals. And then you can let's say increase your network in this way, get some sales going, increase the pricing slowly but surely. Get your website ready. Start with advertisements like Facebook, LinkedIn advertisements, if you will. Start with writing a lot of content marketing, SEO, if you will, stuff like that. So this is, let's say, laying the basic foundation for your entire business, if you will.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, how did you actually get the first few clients when you had nothing, no website, no background, no testimonials?
So what I did was I offered the video at cost price. So since I was working, I had a little bit money to invest, so that was not a problem. So what I said to them that, okay, this is the normal price. I am willing to, let's say, bear half of the price of this video. I was just being upfront and very honest. I told them I'm a startup. I have nothing right now, but I'm willing to bear the cost of half of the video. If you can give me half of the price, I'll make an awesome video for you. I just need a testimonial from you and a referral. I mean, I had to put in a lot of effort to get this first 3 to 5 sales. But it was worth the effort because I could then build up, just with the help of this, I could build up a Facebook page. And on this Facebook page, I could give referrals and then put my work, for example, and advertise this Facebook page till I got some more money. And then I could build my website, if it makes sense. So I just took the other way around. Other route round, if you will.
Sure, that makes sense too. How did you find these 3 to 5 people? And it's one thing to say, okay, I've got someone in my target market. Let me make them this offer. I can see how that's a pretty good offer. But how did you know who to talk to? How did you get those meetings?
So LinkedIn, I just connected with people on LinkedIn, and I just I just did not pitch very randomly that, okay, I'm doing this, but I just try to build up relationship because that is how it works on LinkedIn, basically. So I tried to build a relationship, and I told them what my situation was, and some people just appreciated it, and they said, okay, you are being really honest with us. I appreciate that. I would love to give you a chance to do a video. And I was like, okay, fine. So this is how I got started. I also tried a bit of cold emailing, which worked definitely. And then let's say when I wanted to really scale these, then I hired a virtual assistant because I had some money to invest from the initial sales that I made, and then we kind of built up this entire machine where cold email and LinkedIn was doing the job for me, and then getting me clients.
Cool. And another thing you said, if I'm hearing this right, before you actually had a website, you had a Facebook page where you could post your work and people could come look at it and you could promote that via Facebook ads. Is that right?
I did not start with Facebook ads, but immediately. In fact, I'm trying them right now. But I at least had something to show that, okay, a Facebook page or a Facebook business page was something where I could put my work, put my reviews. So it acted as a temporary website, if you will.
Right. So you kind of did things. I think a lot of people would say, okay, I have a new business idea. I have to start with a website and I have to worry about my logo and the branding and the font size and the colors. And you can waste a whole bunch of time on things that don't actually matter. You immediately went out and got clients.
If you think about it, you don't, let's say a sale is everything. Most of the times, even now I realize most of the times people don't even look at my website. They just ask me to send a couple of sample of work. And if they like it, they just say, okay, let's do this. So it's as funny as it sounds. Don't get me wrong. Website and branding is absolutely important. Absolutely. Because that's the thing that is ultimately going to get you most of the sales. But you don't have to start like this if you are completely bootstrapping and have no money at all.
Got it. Okay. Now, on your website, you talk about how you can take a sales pitch and turn it into a 60-second video that's going to convey more information than a web page with a ton of text. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I think I buy that. I guess one of my questions is, your video that explains your business is about 1 minute and 40 seconds long. Why do you get an extra 40 seconds?
No, so what we say is engagement is the most important factor. So a video can be, let's say, 5 minutes long, no problem. But if you're getting enough engagement in your video, then that is the most important matrix that you have to take care. I try to make my video, let's say, the video which I have on my website, is it the one you are saying that when I am speaking?
Right. You're doing the sort of the meta video that explains why people should use video.
Yeah, right. So as I said, so 60 to 90 seconds is what we recommend, not more than 2 minutes at the most, I would say. What I did with that video was I tried to see what was the engagement level of the audience. So there are different tools like Wistia where you can see how engaged are the audience. So I tried and tested different things. If you see the video, the voice is still not that accurate if you see in that video, but somehow that video kind of did really well as compared to the other variations that we had. So I just stuck with that.
And do you recommend using something like Wistia, or is YouTube fine for most people?
So if you are beginning, let's say there are two aspects to this. First, if you have, let's say, if you just need to convey a message and you don't have to do an, let's say, like extensive video marketing advertisement via Facebook or LinkedIn, then you can just go with YouTube. But if you want to have, or if you want to check a funnel, entire funnel, let's say where you build a complete landing page, you have a video over there, then you send them to the next page where you have, let's say, upsell, downsell, I don't know, and another video. So in this case, we recommend Wistia because you can actually check how much engagement are you getting, how much view time are you getting, how much bounce rate is happening, and stuff like that.
Got it. Okay. So if you're starting off and you're just getting your feet wet with this, YouTube is good. But if you get really into video and you want to use it to its full potential, you want more analytics.
Correct.
And in terms of the actual content and the story, what kind of things work well for online video?
So when it comes to online videos, this is where a concept that we have developed since last 2 years. It's called behavioral lead journey. So what we do inside this is, so just to give you an example, if you before watching a movie, you watch a trailer. If you really love this trailer, which is, I don't know, 60, 90 seconds probably, you actually go and watch the entire movie. It's exactly the same in this let's say video marketing field. When someone comes on your website, a 60 to 90-second video, at the most 2-second video, which talks to the benefits of your customer and hits their pain points in a very systematic way, which appeals to them. This is the kind of video you should have on your main, let's say, homepage, I would say. If someone is actually intrigued after this video, they can actually go and see how the exactly process, how exactly the process works like, or the how-to video, as we call it, or the demo video. This can be a little longer video. Then if they do the purchase after that, then you have another video showing your product or your service in great detail, like tab after tab. Okay, this is the tab which does XYZ. This is the tab which does ABC, for example. And then there is something called also the FAQ videos, which can save a lot of owners a bunch of time, because there are the questions that your prospect ask, most of the times they repeat themselves. So if you just send them a video with this kind of FAQs, then or a FAQ kind of video, then it makes much more sense, because you save time and the prospect who comes to you will be much more qualified, and it's easy to close a qualified customer than, let's say, having the entire sales cycle going where you are repeating your sales pitch and then the customer say, okay, give me some time. So that is completely cut off when you have video marketing going on for you, if it makes sense.
Okay. So now I know there's a lot of people who like consuming video, and there's some people who say, I hate video. As soon as I see a video on the page, I leave. How is that changing over time, and how do you deal with those folks who don't want video?
So what we do, or what we recommend is, statistics shows that a video along with a long, let's say, long sales copy work the best. So there are people who like to read, and there are people who like to watch videos and consume information in as short way as possible. What we recommend is to have the combination of both, because that is how it works. When someone is actually interested watching your 60-second video, they can actually read the entire text in detail. Or if someone just don't want to watch the video, they can still read the entire text and get and consume all the information needed.
Got it. Okay. And what about mobile and videos with sound versus subtitles? Are there best practices there?
Yes. So when it comes to advertisements, I would say we specifically Facebook advertisements, we recommend having subtitles, because I don't know the statistics, but as far as I remember, 40% of the people watch videos without sound. So subtitles are very important. If you have a Facebook Live that you do Facebook Live session, I would say then it's hard to have. I mean, so there are different things to this. If you have advertisement going on, then I definitely recommend having subtitles. This is definitely a must when you are doing mobile advertisements. And the other interesting thing about mobile is Facebook Live, for example. This is so huge right now. People are making literally hundreds and thousands of dollars every month just going Facebook Live and promoting themselves, talking to different people, inviting new people to talk with them on their shows, and so on. So this is just huge, and it's just gonna go up as far as I see for at least next 5 years probably.
Now, with so many things, video, instant messaging, Slack, endless stream of news and entertainment, and best practices and books and so on, there's all these things competing for our attention. And obviously video is currently it's kind of a little different, because most people still aren't doing video. But what happens when everyone's got video? How do we break through all the clutter and the noise and get something that people actually want to pay attention to?
That's a very good question. So this is the reason why we emphasize on, or our main emphasis is to have a really solid script. Anyone can do a video, that's not a big deal, but you have to hit the psychological triggers which are ingrained in human brain in order to make that video stand out. And this is the most important thing that we do when we start working with our clients in order to get engagement. So there is a typical format that we use which hit all these pain points, and the script actually talks to your target audience in a way that they finally get it what you're doing.
So it's kind of like somebody said in an earlier episode, if you can describe the prospect's problem better than they can, then you kind of own that space in their mind. Is that what you're trying to do with a video?
Exactly. You nailed it right.
And so I guess step one of that is understanding who they are and what their actual problem is. Before you create a video, right? You need to actually understand the audience.
Exactly. So so most of the businesses, they have, let's say they have too much curse of knowledge. Actually, that's a better word to let's say describe it, and they do not see anything from a third person's perspective. And this is where we come in, and we actually let's say decipher their entire message in a way that someone who does not know anything about their service or their product can actually get the message in a simple layman's English, if you will.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like no matter how hard you try to take things from your customer's perspective, when it's your business, somehow you end up too deep in it. It's like you cannot possibly fully extract yourself in the way that a third party can.
Exactly. This is what I meant, and this is what we try to do. And therefore, although the actual video, let's say, needs around 4 weeks of preparation, first 1 week, I would say we put in intensive research about knowing you, knowing your business. What is it that you do? How is it that you're trying to solve your customers' pain points? If needed, we do interviews with your let's say existing customers as well, so that we kind of get the understanding about how it is that you function and what your value proposition is. And if there is a mismatch, then we kind of sit down and we say, okay, this is what's happening, this is what's this is where the gap is, and this is how video can help you, and this is how the message will potentially look like, and so on. And trust me, there are so many times when even the owners have this light bulb moments, and they say, okay, now I get it, fine, okay. So it's funny. It's each video is, let's say, a new and a different experience, I would say, in a good way.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I end up doing a lot of customer interviews in my work as well, not to create video, but to create other kinds of lead magnet content. And it's exactly like you say. The words that the customers use to describe their problem and what they actually bought and received from the company are very different than how the company describes the problems and what they're selling. Right. And it's not because the people at the company are idiots or anything like that. They know their customers well. They care a lot about their customers, but it's just a different perspective.
Absolutely. I cannot agree more. You just nailed it right.
Now, one thing Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. That's where, let's say, a consultant like us, like an external consultant or an external agency who actually understands the nuts and bolts of simplifying your message, comes into picture and helps you out.
Right. Now, some people, and you had in fact mentioned earlier, people doing Facebook Live, and there's some people who sort of, they will literally take their phone out and record a video. And it's obviously not professional production quality, but it sort of has this authenticity and rawness about it. How do you know when that's going to be really effective at being something that helps establish a personal connection versus perhaps it's something that they really should have sat down and hired someone to do professional lighting and sound and so on and make it look good?
So this again comes to the budget. If you don't have to, let's say, if you're starting, you don't have to have a professional setup. No need. just, I mean, as we say, putting something out is better than putting nothing out. So I would say just get started, and if and when you have the budget, if and when you have the team, you can then go look into it in a more professional way.
What's the minimum you would need to get started? Assuming you're a business to business type company.
Just an iPhone is more than enough, I would say. An iPhone and a tripod is more than enough to get started.
Okay.
Maybe a good microphone, costing, I don't know, $100 at the most. But that's all as far as I see.
And you can throw some stuff on YouTube, embed it on your site, and you've kind of got started with video.
Exactly. And the beauty about video is, I mean, once you create some content, let's say via video, you can use this content as you can, let's say there are different transcription services.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually have, let's say, this video in a let's say transcribed way, where you can actually create a blog post out of it. You can post this blog post on your website, on LinkedIn, on other social media like Medium. So there are different ways to recycle this single piece of content, and you will have like a content machine running on just by producing one single piece of video content.
And I think that's a great tip, especially for people who feel really comfortable. They love to talk about their work, but they hate writing. And I know certainly for a lot of Americans, that's the case. They can get up and they can just talk about their business and have all kinds of insightful things to say. And it's clear that they're really passionate and they're animated about it. But if you ask them to sit down and write something, they're just stuck. And so this is a great way for them to get something up there that can also turn into written content.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, all you need in this case is maybe you can hire a virtual assistant who let's say can just clean up the transcribed video, and you have a blog post ready actually. So it's very easy.
Very good. How's that beer treating you?
Beer is going fine. I am half a glass down, so I'm fine.
I realized the last podcast I did, we were kind of crunched on time, and so we just kind of like went through everything so quickly that we never actually talked about what we were drinking. And I was like, I feel like something's missing from that episode. Like we weren't sitting down and having a drink together. We were having a business meeting, and that's fine, but it's not quite the same thing. I have to say that this Riesling, it's like I'm kind of two minds about it. If I think of it as a wine, it's just way too sweet. And if I think of it as I'm having dessert in a glass, then it's actually very satisfying.
That's good. Actually, I have to be honest. I mean, the only wine that I like is white wine, preferably Chardonnay.
Okay.
But that's the only one, because somehow wine makes me tired, and I don't know why. I just feel so sleepy. Red wine especially. So I kind of stay away from it.
Well, whatever works. I remember having such a great experience in Germany. A buddy of mine went to a couple of vineyards, and unlike, say, California or even South Africa, where they kind of expect tourists to come to the vineyards and drink wine, and they kind of have everything set up. In Germany, at least at that time, it wasn't like they were expecting anyone, and they were so happy that people had come to hear the story of the vineyard and drink some wine. They would go into their cellars, and they would insist that we take wine with us from their collection. Like they weren't even charging us for the wine; they were just happy that we had come. It was a great experience. I think in some cases there's sort of a stereotype that Germans are not as friendly as some other folks, and I think there is maybe a little bit of formality there, but it was such a great experience. It was such wonderful hospitality, and I wish I could remember, what wines we drank. Of course, that was like back in the pre-smartphone days when I didn't have a picture of everything and so on. So, but it was a wonderful experience and left me with a good impression of German wine. I just wish that I had a little bit more of a sweet tooth when it came to drinking it.
Sure. I mean, nowadays, this wine testing or whiskey tasting is getting very, very common here. And especially when it's summertime, you have this wine drinking walks or wine testing festivals. So people, let's say, so there's an entire village, for example, who have their own, let's say, homemade wines and stuff like that. So you book this kind of tour, and you just go there. They have, let's say, 100 different types of wines, and
Oh boy.
yeah, people who love wine, they just have a blast over there. But it's a, I don't know, entire day trip, and it's just worth it. Definitely worth the weekend, I would say.
Well, I think they could probably benefit from some video production help, don't you think?
Absolutely. I mean, I mean, if you look at it, video is everywhere. Any and every business can do with videos. So I cannot emphasize it about videos less. I mean, it's just a must right now for any business, especially business to business, I would say.
So you've had this amazing journey, and you've grown your agency. You're producing lots of videos. Are you actually getting to travel and explore the world?
Sure. I mean, this year, I have to be honest. First, let's say 6-8 months, I needed to take my business to the next level, so I was working a lot. But since July, I have been to Croatia. I have been to Budapest. I have been to Krakow in Poland, and now I will be going to, where am I going? I'm going to Croatia again in December for a friend's wedding, and then India for 3 to 4 weeks. So yeah, I've been traveling quite a bit actually.
Very good. That was actually my dream when I started my business. Was I was going to travel half the time and work half the time, and I don't think I've been nearly as successful at that as you have. So congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, what I realized is, whenever I say I travel, it is, let's say, work every day as well. So you have to work, but the feeling of being in a different country and enjoying a bit more is definitely satisfying and fulfilling when you have especially a team who's taking care of the production part of the business. So I can afford that.
Very good. Well, what do I say? I say roast?
Prost.
Prost. Sorry.
Yes.
I've got to learn these things carefully. Prost. Congratulations, Prost. Rohan. It's been such a pleasure talking with you, and all the best on your travels and building your business.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. It was a pleasure.